And I know there are a lot of companies. That's like actually like another huge misconception that makes me really angry. It's almost the same as paying someone to copyright protect your song, which isn't needed. It's companies allowing you to make a cover of a song. Things that'll do to you. Hey guys, welcome to the harbor. I'm finally back to the studio. It's Monday. Virus crisis still going on today. It's the first full day where some businesses in Germany are allowed to be back open. I'm also fully allowed to open the studio again, but I won't. It doesn't cost me a lot to keep it closed, and I think it's the right call. So it's just me in that huge building making music for the entire day. It feels so good to be back here. I just love that place where I can just make music 24/7. Ooh, got a letter by the GEMA, which is like the German royalty collecting company. Wow. I got money. Not a lot, like 451 euros for half a year. Which is really good. Like, if you think back at the very beginning of me doing these daily vlog videos about my life as a DJ and producer, three and a half years ago, I got 50 cents by them for half a year for all of my music. Now it's 451. That's a big jump. I really like, nice. And it also fits perfectly for actually today's video topic. I was first just thinking normally sharing what I do, but yesterday I made a video about why you shouldn't use splice vocals, sampled vocals, and just go and record your own. A lot of people got the video, understood the message to try and motivate people that are used to using sampled vocals to maybe go and record some, because it's then your own, you have way more control, it's your song, no one else can have the same song, and labels are way more likely to actually release your song because it's not a vocal that was already used 10, 20, 30 times. And I think most people got that video, but in some of the comments I could read stuff that just hurts. People are still very confused about all of the royalty collecting and who owns what kind of situation in music. So today's video is all about clarifying everything about it, like the biggest misconceptions, business related, rights related for musicians. And the first one, which is like the biggest that I get the most, is that people always ask me, where can I copyright protect my song? Where can I register it? And there is no such thing. I know there are some companies that let you do it and you have to pay something for it, but this is really absolutely not necessary. By international copyright law, and I think almost every single country on this planet agreed to these kind of laws. Everyone agrees to, whenever you make something as an artist, you can paint a picture, you can fart into the mic, burp into the mic, clap your hands, record it. The second you make it, and no matter what it is protected. It is yours. You can hum a melody, and if no one else ever before hummed it, you're the first, it's yours. No one else can copy that without your approval. You don't have to register it anywhere, nothing. The second it is created, it's protected. And a lot of beginners are always like, can I send it to a label as a demo? They might steal it. How do I protect it before sending it to them? This is absolutely not necessary. And most of the time, this fear is by young producers that think they have made the next huge hit. Usually, that's not the case. Most labels get so many demos, they don't even care about your song. And even if it's really good, they get hundreds of other songs that are as good. So don't panic. I don't know a single case where a label took someone's song or another artist stole someone else's song, because even if they do, that's like a very clear and easy case to prove. You're the one that has the project in your studio. You're the one that knows how the song was built. You probably send it to family and friends or other producers for feedback, so you have witnesses that can prove that you made the song before anyone else. So really, absolutely don't worry about that, and never ever pay someone to copyright protect your song. That's just nonsense. And the next misconception is a big one. A lot of misconceptions in one. It's so complicated, I made like a nice little chart. And it clarifies in music who gets what, who pays who, how much the percentage is, how music is where paid. And the biggest is like the difference between royalties, the intellectual property, your idea, the lyrics you've created, the melody you came up with, and the master right. Huge difference, two separate things, sometimes interchanged by people and mixed up. And yeah, let's try to clarify that. If you understand this, you're already ahead of 95% of all other musicians. So let's start with the artist. The artist usually is, or the main artist. The main artist is usually the one responsible for making the record. It can be the producer, it can be the singer, the management with the singer, with the producer. It could be a DJ. And some DJs are also producers, so like the main artist, the person whose name is on the record. And that main artist can be just like the name on the record. This happens a lot in ghost productions. But it can also be someone that is writing the lyrics, coming up with the lyrics and the melodies. It could be someone that is just singing. Both of these are viable options. And both together also possible. So me, for example, I'm a music producer and DJ, but I also write my lyrics and I also come up with the melodies in my songs. Sometimes fully just me, and then I hire someone to sing it because I can't sing. Or I sit here in the studio, have a session with a singer and songwriter, sometimes with just a songwriter and someone else singing. There are a lot of possibilities. So let's maybe just start at the top. All stores that sell music, all physical music, CDs, vinyl, but also streaming and also YouTube. They collect money and pay this usually to the distributor. There is no way for artists directly to sell their music on Spotify. That's not possible. There is usually always a distributor in between. This can be like a free distributor, like DistroKid, CD Baby. Those are like the small individual ones where artists directly can release. Then you have the big ones by the major labels. And then you have bigger independent ones. In Germany, it's Sibrelution, Believe, and there are multiple more, but these are responsible for collecting all that stuff. So this is done mostly out of nostalgia, because back in the days you had CDs and people had to actually deliver them somewhere. So you had someone in between taking care of doing this in every separate country. Nowadays, if you just digitally release your song, you can also do it yourself directly. And this way save a little bit of money, but they might also help you to collect the money and also help you to place your song in these stores, getting banners and this kind of stuff. And usually a distributor, like one of the bigger, better ones, they take like 15 to 30%. The smaller ones where you directly release, I don't know, they take like $10 per song and don't take a cut at all. Then from the distribution, it goes to the label. The label could be you if you self-release, or it's like a normal independent label. Independent labels usually keep between 50 to 60%. Major labels might even keep 80%. Sometimes even a little more than that. 82 is not, like, it's common. This happens a lot. All of that money ends up then at the artist again. The management of the artist themselves. Sometimes the management takes a cut, but like the main artist, singer, DJ, producer, whatever. They then usually upfront agree on a share for the person singing. The person singing recorded the singing, or you recorded the singing. You can give them a percentage of whatever you make. 5% to 30% is common. This highly depends on how big you are as an artist, how big the feature singer is as an artist. If the singer is the main artist and singing, then this is of course both bundled and you don't pay yourself singing for it. You just keep the percentage. The buyout is also possible, sometimes a fee plus a buyout. The buyout is usually to cover the work that went into making the recording, the actual recording that is being used. So paying for recording time in a studio, or if they record it at home, or just sometimes they just want this kind of fee to have like an advance basically, and have some cash for making the song, because it could take like a year until they get the money, because it's like first, let's say Spotify, then a share to the distributor to the label to the artist, and then the artist to the singer. This takes a year usually, if even anything reaches you as an artist. It really depends. Like there are a lot of people in between, and if any one of them doesn't pay, it's usually very annoying. But that is the master right. The physical, the downloadable, the streamable, the stuff you can touch, that one recording that sounds the same everywhere. It's the physical recorded, the master that you send out to the mastering engineer, that file and copies of that file. I think that string is pretty clear because it works as every other product. You produce something, someone else sells it for you, gets a cut, and then the person buying it owns the product at the end. That's pretty straightforward and simple. Where it gets complicated is like the royalty, copyright kind of side, the intellectual property, the not physical, the idea, the humming of the melody, the writing of the lyrics, the intellectual idea of someone. First of all, I would like to state that here it gets a little complicated because it depends really on the country. For example, in Germany, that copyright, you cannot sell it to someone else. It's just not possible. You can give someone else the right to collect it for you, but you cannot sell it. In the US, that's common practice. A singer and songwriter writes something, comes up with the main melody, sings it, and sells all of it, the master right to the recording, plus the intellectual of the melody and the lyrics, to someone else as a package deal. Usually you pay them a lot more. It's a buyout. This usually happens when the singer or songwriter doesn't believe in you as an artist, producer, to make it into a big hit. So they just prefer having cash directly upfront and no more trouble. If they think that you're a big artist and it might get turned into a hit, they will probably prefer a percentage. So again, artists and people writing, composing. The artist can be part of the writing and composing. The artist can be not involved in the writing and composing, which in my opinion doesn't make him an artist anymore, but this is happening a lot. That's done like ghost writing, and some even have ghost producers. So the artist is just a brand at the end, but that's a whole nother topic. Those three at the bottom can be like the same person. This could be split in an infinite amount of persons. The writing part is usually handled very simple. Everyone that is involved in coming up with the melody and the writing, the lyrics, gets an equal share. So for example, I shared it already a million times here on this channel. If I have a singer-songwriter here, a guitar player here, and myself in the studio, we're usually three, so we divide 100% of the intellectual property rights, the royalty stuff, we divide it by 3. If it's 2 persons, 50-50. If it's just 1 person, you keep 100%. This is very, very common. Sometimes it gets distributed percentage-wise differently. This is fully up to negotiation. This highly depends on like big David Guetta records. You have sometimes 20 people working just on this intellectual kind of stuff, and a lot of collaboration all over the world, sending stuff back and forth. So it's really up to those people to agree on something. Until they do not agree, you cannot release the song. So I personally always do this before starting a session. I tell everyone involved, we'll just split it in equal parts and have no trouble. Usually there is no arguing and fighting because I do it up front. Everyone knows what they're getting themselves into and it just works. And again, if we start from the top, like all of the broadcasting, public broadcasting, playing a song in public, on the radio, in a bar, in a club, festival, concert, whatever it is, whenever you play something that was made by someone else publicly, you have to pay these royalties. And for these royalties, you have royalty collecting companies. You could theoretically, also collect these royalties yourself. Let's say, for example, a radio station in Australia is playing one of my songs to 1 million people broadcasted via radio. First of all, I need to find out about it, which is like almost impossible, doing this for every play all over the world. And then I would have to individually negotiate with them how much they owe me for playing my song to that amount of people, which is just nuts. No one does that. No one. You sign with a royalty collecting society. And there are a lot of them available. Every country usually has at least one. In Germany, it's the GEMA. These guys that just sent me 451 euros. Really nice. Thanks a lot. They collect these rights for me. So whenever I write a song or I'm part of writing a song, they make sure whenever it gets broadcasted anywhere on this planet that I get a share for this. This usually happens at radio stations. They make a list with all of the songs that they've played during a day or hour, and usually digitally directly nowadays. This gets registered with the royalty collecting company. By the way, in the US it's ASCAP, and there are like plenty more. In the Netherlands it's Buma, and again, there are like a lot of them. You as an artist have to register with them, give them the right to negotiate for you, which they already did for all of their other artists, and you just basically get money from them through them collecting it for you from everyone. Also, club owners have to pay it. In Germany, it's a little complicated. It's based on the size of the club and the amount of people that enter the club and the ticket prices, the usual average ticket prices. And then they pay 500 to a couple of thousand per month to the GEMA, which then again gives all of the artists the shares. It's not really fair because in a club, for example, they might just play underground club music. And since they don't register every single play, they just pay this fee based on the size. And it gets then distributed the same as the radio plays and everything else the GEMA has, where they know exactly how it is distributed. It's a little unfair, but in reality, I mean, the only solution would be every club to do a track list, which would be, again, really annoying for every DJ writing down every like edit and every version they've played during that night and like for how many seconds they played it. It's not really, it just doesn't work. I mean, maybe one day you could like have a machine that listens to whatever gets played in that club and this way do it like YouTube. But at the moment, it's not working. And this really depends on every kind of country. So a DJ that is playing in a club doesn't have to pay it. The club pays it already because music is publicly broadcasted to a bigger audience. And where it gets a little complicated is all of those stores, YouTube, Spotify, streams, downloads, CDs, they also have to pay this royalty part, because they are using the intellectual property in that master recorded and make it available for people. So the people that wrote it also need to get a cut. So YouTube and all of these in that blue bubble pay twice. They pay the master rights that go down to the label, to the artist, and they also pay the intellectual property, GEMA, royalty collecting society stuff. They also pay. And there it's really, really complicated. This is fully up again to negotiating with them. The GEMA, for example, had a big fight with YouTube for over 8 years about how much YouTube should pay the GEMA for having all of that music available. Went to court, took a very long time. At the end, they agreed on something. It's a very, very, very low share. So not really good for artists, but at least something. All of the years before, it was nothing. The day they agreed, all of the artists got a huge chunk. I got like 4 or 5 times more than usually the year they agreed. And for example, YouTube pays this fixed amount to the royalty collecting companies, but it also, of course, pays for the advertisement that is being played on the videos. That money is master right again, which gets to the distributor, to the label. It's 55%, which is the lowest in the industry. Spotify, Apple Music, and downloads, they pay usually 70% down to the distributor. YouTube has the lowest with just 55. But again, all of them in the blue one paid twice. Once for the intellectual property used in the recording and for the recording itself. Back again to radio, TV, broadcasting, concerts and all that stuff. Even a cover band at a wedding actually has to pay it, which usually never happens. But all of that then goes to the royalty collecting companies. And these are a little special because they are actually, at least in Germany, non-profit. So all of the money they collect gets redistributed to the artist in something that is in Germany called Verteilungsschlüssel. It's like a key on how everything is being shared, which is highly complicated, highly unfair, but it's the best we got. They don't make a profit, so all of the money they collect, they give out again to the artist. They just keep whatever they need to pay themselves, wages for the building, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a non-profit organization made by artists for artists. They're usually on the artist side. Below that we have publishers. Publishers are not needed. I don't have a publisher, and I can only advise any artist out there to wait with getting a publishing deal, because the good thing about a publishing deal is they will usually pay you in advance. I know people that are way less known than me as an artist that got like 30, 40, 50,000 euros as an advance. So without an advance, I would never ever sign to a publisher. They are responsible to take care of like all of the organizational stuff with the royalty collecting company. So registering your songs there, which is very easy. You can also do it yourself. It just takes like 5 minutes. But they also make sure that your song gets played more in that big bubble above. So they might have contacts to radio stations, they might have contacts to TV advertisement people and this kind of stuff. They're responsible for that. In Germany, it's even more complicated. I left it out of the chart because that part is divided again between GEMA and GVL, which is another royalty collecting company for, in Germany it's called Zweitverwerter, like second users. For example, like a cover band that is covering your song, it's your intellectual property, they cover it, so they also get a share because them covering it and how they play it is again considered like an artistic adding to it, and they should also be paid for it. But we'll just leave it aside. This is handled differently in every kind of country. But then again, either from the royalty collecting company directly to the writer, or with a publisher in between, the money gets to the writer. If the main artist is also a writer, he also gets a share. That's the share that the writers in the session or before the session agreed on. Something that happens nowadays a little more, but is still very, very uncommon, is that the main artist also pays a percentage of the master to the writer. This can be the case, for example, because YouTube and Spotify pay so little of royalties to the royalty collecting companies that some of the writers are not making enough money. So nowadays they sometimes might ask for like a 5 to 15 to 20% cut of the master, but still very uncommon. I personally never do it. So I hope this wasn't too complicated. I hope you at least understood, because that's like causing so much trouble, like the difference between the intellectual property of you making a melody and lyrics that you come up with that is copyright protected, and the actual recorded stuff, the product you sell to someone else. You sell the right to it to the label that in return give you a percentage of whatever they make with what you gave to them and gave them the rights to. I hope this is now once for all clear. Whenever I see someone commenting something underneath of one of my videos where they mix up this kind of stuff, I will link them to this video and hopefully educate them this way, because it's a little confusing, but once you get it, once you understand that there are two rights, you'll be fine. And understanding all of this is very important for the third and biggest misconception that is a result of not understanding all of this. I get this question a million times every single day. Can I edit, remix, cover a song? And the simple and straightforward answer is no, you cannot. You cannot take someone else's intellectual property and change it. You can also not take someone else's master property, product, recording and change it. Taking someone's master rights would be sampling. you take someone else's recording, cut it, and reuse it. At the same time, though, it's also taking of the intellectual property, because in that sample might be vocals, lyrics, chords, melodies. So if you sample someone else's song, you have to ask usually the label who owns the rights to the master, and you have to ask the publisher or the artist to get the right to the intellectual property royalty kind of stuff. So if you want to make the millionth edit remix of Show Me Love, and you want to have that organ in your sound, the very famous one, you have to ask both sides, which can get really, really complicated because sometimes the publishing is split among sub-publishers. This was especially done back in the days, where some people in certain countries got certain parts of a publishing to be more present in these kind of countries. So for Show Me Love, it might be 5-6 publishers that you might have to ask for approval to get the right to cover or sample it. And if you want to sample it, you also have to ask the master right section because you use a part of the song. So sampling someone else's song, complicated, you have to ask both sides. If you cover someone's song, if you replay the Show Me Love organ bass line and use the same sound out of your computer, but you have made it, you didn't take it from there, that's fully allowed. You can let someone else sing the same melody and the same lyrics, but you have then to get permission by the publisher or the artist if they still have the rights. There's just one exception if you do a one-to-one cover. And here it gets, again, a little complicated because no one really knows what a one-to-one cover means. But for example, you're a cover band playing at a wedding and you play the song like one of the top charting radio songs and you play it one-to-one. Same lyrics, same melody, that's fine. That's considered most of the time a one-to-one cover. And then you just pay the royalty collecting company for that kind of stuff. And that's usually done by the person organizing the concert, the venue, the wedding, sometimes you as a band, but someone has to pay it. If you do a one-to-one cover and release it, that's also usually possible, but if the publisher doesn't like it or wants to make money, or you have a huge hit with a one-to-one cover, they might go to court and argue that it's not a one-to-one cover. And some courts decide that changing the BPM already makes it a not one-to-one cover. Some courts say if you change like one word, it's not a one-to-one cover. If you change one note, it's not a one-to-one cover. It's complicated. If you want to cover someone else's song, please ask the ones that own the rights. If they say yes, do it. If they say no, just don't do it. If you can't reach them, which is usually the case, bad luck. You could try it and then get sued, not get sued, or later maybe agree with them. A lot of possibilities. And I know there are a lot of companies. That's actually another huge misconception that makes me really angry. It's almost the same as paying someone to copyright protect your song, which isn't needed. It's companies allowing you to make a cover of a song. I know a lot of those cheap fake distributors have it implemented, pay $50 and you can cover any kind of song. It's bullshit. The one-to-one cover thing is for free. You can do it. It's not really defined, but these companies sell you something that is actually for free, take money from you, and tell you, yeah, you're allowed to do it, but they're just giving you allowance to something that is already allowed. So don't pay anyone for anything that is free. It's just a big, big scam, and it's happening a lot. A lot of people write me, hey, I released this cover and I just paid them $50 and I was allowed to do the cover. That's bullshit. Sometimes they have a general agreement with a publisher, and that's why it works, but usually not. Usually it's a scam. So in a nutshell, edits, remixes, covers are most of the time not allowed. I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about this kind of stuff and just release it. And if you just have 50 plays on SoundCloud and you took Justin Bieber's latest hit and just put a kick underneath, no one will care. It will probably just get removed. But if you make it and turn it into a huge hit, it's also very likely, because since they all just want to make money, that they will agree with you on something I mean, I got like a very small, like this happened actually to me. I made an edit of Nina Simone's Sinner Man, which got 200,000 plays on SoundCloud like 4 or 5 years ago, which was like a lot of plays. And half a year later, Universal wrote me, hey, you sampled something out of a song that belongs to us. You're not allowed to do it, but we actually like it. We would love to offer you. And then they offered me 2%, which is a joke. But I had no other option. I basically stole from them. So they gave me the option getting sued or agreeing to getting 2%, and they would actually release my song. So now it's out on my Spotify profile. It's getting like a little bit of plays. I get 2%. I have never seen a single cent up until today. And it was 2% limited up to 2,000. So whenever my 2% would reach 2,000, I would never ever get any more than that. But that's still better than getting sued, and I'm happy that like my edit is still out there. Having signed to a major label, it's not that bad, even if it doesn't make you a single cent. Anyways, I hope this helped a little to clarify copyright, master rights, the split between who pays what to whom, the percentages in between, that you don't need to copyright protect your song, and you don't need to pay someone to get the right to make a cover, edit, or remix. Just get it yourself. It's way safer than paying someone for something that is actually for free. Anyways, thanks all for watching. I hope this video helped. If you have any more questions, just let me know down below in the comments. I will now just stick to music production for the rest of the day. I need to finish another song, another album song, and tomorrow back to the usual scheduled videos, me as a DJ producer here in the studio, making some music. Things that I'll do to you.